That was so amazing for me to see that. Minasan, konnichiwa, squishytalk yokoso. Okay, in today's video, I'm going to be telling you about 5 things I've seen in Japan that are surprising. So if you like videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. And let's begin. This video is sponsored by Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN provider, which stands for Virtual Private Network. You can use Surfshark to safely encrypt your IP address and even hide your location to ensure for maximum privacy when surfing the internet. You can also use Surfshark to change your region on online streaming services. So, whilst I'm here in the UK and I'm missing my favourite TV shows from Japan, I can safely use Surfshark to change my region and access all of my favourite shows right here in the UK that I'm missing back in Japan. Surfshark also has no restrictions on the amount of devices linked to one Surfshark account. So that means your entire family can use their devices on your Surfshark account without having to make any new accounts or pay any extra. Viewers of Squishy Talk are being offered an 83% discount and 3 free months using code squishytalk. You also have a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if in 30 days you're not happy with the service, then you can get a refund absolutely risk-free. Please check our description box below for any further information. Okay, number 1, drinking on the street. Okay, so in the UK, you see people drinking on the street. I know that it's definitely not allowed to drink alcohol on public transport, and I'm not sure if it's even possible for you to drink on the street. I'm pretty sure maybe it's not. But then we have events like Notting Hill Carnival where people definitely drink on the street and no one does anything. Either way, you don't see it very often. Typically, if people are drinking on the streets here in London, it's probably after they've already been out to a pub or a club and maybe they've closed and they just want to carry on drinking. That's usually when you see it. But I was really surprised in Japan to find that drinking on the street is completely legal and it's actually done pretty frequently, which is quite nice because you actually see all kinds of people having a drink on the street or just walking to meet someone and already starting the party themselves. And yeah, I think when it's allowed and everybody does it, it kind of looks less weird and less suspicious. Whereas in England, where nobody really does it, you really notice when someone is drinking on the street. The other thing I find surprising is seeing how many people fall asleep on the streets in Japan. Yeah. I mean, I get it though, especially if you've been working really long hours and then you've had to go for drinks after work with your boss or your colleagues. I can imagine you're just exhausted and you just end up passing out anywhere. I totally get it. And also the fact that Japan is a really safe country probably makes it seem more reasonable to sleep on the street. It was surprising for me to see, but the more I thought about it, the more I kind of understood it. It just looks kind of uncomfortable, but I definitely understand when businessmen end up sleeping on the street. It makes sense. Okay, number 2, plastic. So in Japan, I see a lot of plastic on grocery items and snacks. In the UK, we're trying to stop doing that. Individual companies are trying to take steps to lessen the amount of plastic waste that they produce. There's kind of a reason for this. I feel like in the UK, recycling is kind of seen as something that's optional. Nobody's forced to recycle. It's definitely a choice. So by companies limiting the amount of plastic they use on their products, it kind of helps with plastic pollution because you can't trust that everybody is going to recycle. So you can kind of see why that's done in the UK. In Japan at first, I was pretty shocked and a bit upset to see everything covered in plastic. But then once I moved to Japan and realized how strictly recycling is done, I felt less upset about it. Because actually in Japan, I'm more mindful of the plastic I use because I have to separate it, so I see how much I'm using. Whereas in the UK, where it's not really separated that often, and I just trust companies to use less plastic, I feel like I'm less mindful of how much plastic I'm using. I hope that makes sense. But definitely if I'm separating my plastic in Japan and it's been a week and I look and I'm just like, oh my god, we've used a lot of plastic bottles this week. It kind of reminds you that you should be using less. Whereas if you don't really do that in the UK, you just kind of assume that you're not using that much plastic, even though you probably are. But yeah, it was definitely surprising for me to see how much plastic is used in Japan at first. but I am really strict with my recycling in Japan, and I think so is everybody. For those of you who don't know, different types of rubbish go out on different days, so you really need to be on top of which rubbish goes out, and so that makes you be mindful of how much recycling you're doing and how much plastic you're using. Okay, number 3, car parking. So in the UK, car parking is a bit of a disaster. You literally see people parking in areas they're not supposed to park in. You see people taking up 2 parking spaces instead of 1, and it's honestly so infuriating. Luckily for me, I don't drive, but for my friends and my dad, having to be in the car with them when something like that has happened is just so stressful. There are definitely rules in the UK about where you're supposed to park. People don't follow them, and people really don't seem to care if they get a ticket or not, especially in London. Like, it's honestly crazy to me. So in Japan, I was super surprised to see not only do people generally just park better, but when it comes to car parks, people always back into their parking spaces. So all of the cars are facing in the same direction, and it's super easy to get out of the car park really quickly because you're already facing outwards. That was so amazing for me to see that. That was like nothing I could have ever imagined. I had no idea that there was a country somewhere where people actually park that way. Truly shocking. But honestly, like, amazing, because it is way more efficient. Okay, backing into a small parking space may be a little bit difficult, but if you're doing it every day, then surely it just gets easier and easier. Okay, so number 4, children left outside of grocery stores. You don't really see this in the UK too often, especially with young children. I would say maybe... Actually, no, you don't see it in the UK at all. Oh, maybe, okay, yeah, maybe if you're going to a small corner shop near your house, like not a major grocery store, then yeah, maybe, especially if your kid has a dog, your child would wait outside with the dog and you go in and quickly grab something. I know that that's what I used to do when I was a kid. My dad just used to leave me outside, but I'd usually be with my dog, and I was maybe 10 or 11, so kind of responsible. But in Japan, you see kids just waiting outside of grocery stores, maybe still attached to bicycles, because I know that that's really common in Japan, and it's totally fine, and they're totally safe. I think one of the biggest things in general that surprises me about Japan is just how safe it is, that you can leave your kids or valuable items lying around, and in most situations it would be totally fine. But yeah, I was definitely surprised to see that when I first came to Japan, because my parents would freak out. Although, to be fair, bringing your child into a grocery store in the UK is not that much safer. The amount of times I got lost in the grocery store and my parents would just freak out. I just like to wander off, as I'm sure most kids do. Finally, number 5. I have definitely saved the most shocking thing until last, and that is crossing the street. So, in the UK, people literally cross the street whenever they want. There doesn't have to be a crossing there. There doesn't have to be a light signal. There doesn't have to be anything. It's so dangerous and so infuriating, especially if you're in a car and you're driving and somebody just steps out in front of your car to cross the street. They are risking their lives and yours, and it is terrifying. It's really scary. So I was really surprised in Japan that people wait for the crossing signal before they cross the road, even if the road is completely empty. Yeah, that shocked me completely. But I will say, I have now gotten into this habit. So since I've been here in the UK, I've seen a couple of my family members and friends, and when I've been with them, when they cross the road, they just go. They just cross, and my heart rate goes crazy. It's so scary. And then the other day I was by myself crossing the road, and the signal was taking forever to change. And I could see that the light was telling the driver to stop, so it was a red light for them, but it wasn't a green light for me to walk yet. And I could see the driver in the car looking at me like, just go, just go. And I was like, no, I can't. I need to wait for the green man. It's the habit I've gotten into now. And honestly, I am so glad that I have that habit, because I think it's always such a risk to cross the road when the signal isn't telling you to. It doesn't matter if there are no cars on the road. A car could easily quickly come around the corner and hurt you. So it's definitely always better to wait for the signal. Okay, well, that is the end of this list. What did you guys think? As usual, please comment your opinions down below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.